Video game industry needs to rethink their strategy, especially AAA Western studios. It is too easy to identify from the promo materials and behavior of their devs on social media a pattern that signifies a major lack of creativity and breadth. These manifest on every level of the game that we get to play. We get this from the similar UI and the yellow paint showing you where to go. We get this in the similar cinematic gaming experience everyone is pursuing. We get this in the massive budgets for mocap studios, realistic graphics resulting in 100 gigabytes of space being chomped, and animations that cause us to see the same real-life actors show up over and over again. Most of all, we see a streamlining of gaming in two specific areas. One is in narrative design. So many obnoxious, angry characters that are completely unlikable, yet are written in such a way that it is clear they want us to unconditionally love this character, not for what they do or how they behave, but for their identity traits. The other, art design, normalizing flattened customization. Quite literally, where curves are a bad thing, where hulking, masculine men are out, and soft women with hourglass figures are a thing of a problematic past. Type A and Type B that increasingly look the same. Games grow increasingly ugly, in some cases very hard to look at, while they disrespect established characters from popular colonized IPs, making them near unrecognizable. And most of all, this results in nearly every game being interchangeable. If you were to put the cast of Concord, Jaguar, Veilguard, and Avowed next to each other, you wouldn't know the difference despite them being supposedly diverse. Copy everything. Yet, Doomguy, Master Chief, Commander Shepard, Marcus Phoenix, Isaac Clarke, you put these so-called generic sci-fi guy next to each other and they're easily identified. Nintendo might be the best for us. Having a signature style, yet nobody is confusing Zelda, Peach, and Samus for each other. You can take a look at a full cast of modern audience character designs and have no idea what they do, who they are, or what is interesting about their personalities or stories, except for it likely having to do with some sort of identity nonsense. And this is one of the key problems with games that are made with so-called diversity, inclusion, and equity in mind. They will end up molding together like moist compost. All it takes is a single scene's cringe dialogue and messaging being put on YouTube, seeing a couple of character models. Modern games are so consistently preachy and ugly. They are flawed at a systemic level. What we see is a symptom of the rot that lies deep inside AAA corporations at the base level of their views and company goals. Now, Avowed is a Game Pass quality game, already in a precarious position of doubt, and now they have decided to give us a glimpse behind the curtain. What we see is not a surprise in the slightest, but it is nice when we expect something of a studio and they themselves decide to prove everyone right. The Avowed art director decided to lash out in the most blatant failure to read the room of all time, calling his own work woke and full of everything that gamers are sick and tired of, gloating of his intention to piss people off, with the typical, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my game, that was stupid enough when it started a decade ago, but is now beyond insanity. Keep this in mind. This is an art director. This is someone with power. This is someone with influence. And this is not me calling their game woke. This is not me trying to pry apart and analyze their mindset. This is how they want to advertise their game leading to release. We already saw numerous studio closures and layoffs from Microsoft, and yet here they are trying to tank interest in the game by picking completely unnecessary fights over things that gamers just spent the last year fully rejecting. Again, they have decided to pick this fight. But doesn't matter. Oh no, another game with the same copy-paste, art design, and visual vomit. Just don't buy it. A game embracing this is one thing, but that is not the issue. The issue is the rot in the studio itself, in the industry ruining games for everyone. That is where the issue is. Again, this is a director, and they made it very clear their biases behind the scenes. This is someone who is clear. They will hire, prioritize, and assist others in the industry based solely off of race or gender. as well as penalize for those traits when they do not like them. This is the behind-the-scenes rot at all of these studios. This will hinder any chance to pivot back to games where the game is more important than the elitist preaching. Do you want to play a game where the developers openly hate you due to your race or gender? Where they would never even hire you based on your identity? Perhaps this art director hates groups that you do not belong to. But if he did, would that be fine? Making hiring decisions, giving advice, prioritizing identity traits. When did society decide this was something that is okay to do, even preferable to do? Without any sort of repudiation for Microsoft, it makes it clear that they support or tolerate identity-based decision-making regarding people's jobs, whether that is hiring, promotions, or firing. And that is what is at the core of DEI, or wokeness, bridge, whatever they want to call it, ESG, doesn't matter what they call it. At the end of the day, it is discrimination. So of course, yes, this person influences and decides on the art direction, the character design, the customization creation tools, parts of the narrative regarding the looks of protagonists, villains, and monsters of Avowed. Gamers see this and increasingly find it very unappealing, but that is a symptom. The problem is the studio core decaying, a studio where developers are given or stripped of power, control, and even their very livelihood based on traits they were born with, where it is clear that having views that differ from the leadership get you punished, where toxic positivity and threats of blacklisting stifles any difference in thought and critique of the game. Think about it. If you want to keep your job and this director could fire you, would you ever speak out? Especially if you knew you have an identity they clearly do not value. If your skin color made this art director disgusted, would you speak out? Avowed foulness indicates what lies beneath at Obsidian and Xbox. At some point, AAA studios need to decide if they want to keep antagonizing gamers or pushing things that gamers clearly do not want, if they want to let their decades of building up popular franchises completely putrefy in this pursuit of a social justice religion, or do they want to completely lose to upcoming AA and indie devs whose main passion is making games worth playing? Really, though, would it be so bad if the smaller studios overthrew the current behemoths looming over the gaming industry?